Hello everybody, it's Harry here from Tech Pulse, and today we're going to be taking a look at the LN01A Bookshelf Speakers from Triangle Hi-Fi. Before we start the video, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Premium Sound based in London for sending me out these speakers. I'll leave a link to their website in the description below so you can take a look at that. And on screen now is their Instagram, so make sure you go check them out and give them a follow and see all the other products that they have on offer. Without further ado, let's cover what you get in a box with these speakers. Upon opening the top layer of the box for these speakers, you'll see a foam tray which has a power cord, a 3-meter cable to link the speakers together, a quick start guide and a small remote with the batteries. Then when you lift the foam insert out, you'll reveal the two bookshelf speakers which sit in the bottom. These came in nice felt bags, something which I really like to see on a more premium product like this, and they also had two magnetic grills in the bottom. In terms of design, the LN01As take quite a minimalistic yet tidy modern look. The ones I have here are the black model, however they are available in 4 other different colours, including Abyss Blue, Eggplant, Linen Grey and White. It's nice to see that Triangle went for a lacquer finish as opposed to a vinyl finish, keeping these speakers on the more premium end and making them look a lot tidier than other manufacturers that may use vinyl wrap. Of course, with these speakers being powered bookshelf speakers, one speaker is active, one is passive. However, from the front, the only difference you'll see is that the active speaker has a light on which just indicates what mode it's in and indicates that it's picking up the remote, which is actually quite helpful as a lot of bookshelf speakers don't have this and you solely have to rely on your own ears to tell if it's the remote is making a difference. Overall, I think the LN01As have a really tidy look to them. They're a very premium looking bookshelf speaker, but they're also very minimalistic, which I think is really important when putting them in different rooms. The minimalistic style and look of these speakers allows you to put them in various different rooms, but still without them clashing with other things that might be in there. So on the whole, when it comes to design, I think Triangle Hi-Fi have really nailed the minimalistic and simple look on the LN01A bookshelf speakers. I put them in multiple different rooms around my house, different designs and different settings, and not once did they clash. They seem to fit in really nicely. However, that being said, Triangle obviously, as I mentioned, do offer 4 different colours, so you can choose the right colour to your liking. This makes these bookshelf speakers a complement to pretty much any room, no matter where you put them, something which is really important when spending £600 on some premium bookshelf speakers. I think my favourite feature has probably got to be the driver array on the front with that nice one-piece smooth cone woofer and the dome tweeter at the top with the bronze surround. Let me know in the comments what your favourite feature is in terms of design. Now let's take a look at all the different features on the LN01As. It's fair to say that the LN01As certainly are not short in the features department. With both analog and digital inputs all built into these speakers, it really diversifies the range of users who can find these speakers suitable. In terms of analog inputs, we have the RCA port, the optical port and auxiliary on the back here, meaning these are compatible with turntables, and because they have a built-in preamp, it means that you can just plug your turntable straight in and it'll work right away. However, with more people wanting to buy modern bookshelf speakers but not necessarily having turntables or large amplifiers to plug into them, they do also have digital inputs, one of these being Bluetooth. The Bluetooth in the LN01As is Bluetooth 4.0, however it uses an aptX chip which ensures CD quality 16-bit transmission over Bluetooth. This means that if you're an avid Tidal user, you can use Bluetooth but you're still not going to compromise on that nice pure CD quality. Something which I personally think is very nice to see on these speakers, as a lot of speakers that rely on Bluetooth do lose a lot of quality out of your music simply because of that way of connection. For my testing, I used both optical and Bluetooth to give both the analog and the digital inputs a chance, but I found the Bluetooth to be A, very stable, B, a strong consistent connection, and C, good quality. My music didn't seem to sound much different to what it did in optical. It's important to note that the difference between the aptX Bluetooth input and the optical input in terms of quality is probably only going to be noticed by a very trained ear. So for newer users into the scene of bookshelf speakers, or users who just want quick simplicity, these are more than adequate in terms of connection. As I mentioned at the start of the video, they do also include a remote. Here is the remote. I'll put it on screen now so you can see it in more detail. The remote is actually really small, however I don't see why this should be an issue. It has on the top an off and on button and a mute button, so you can quickly turn these speakers on and off or cut the sound if you need to tell someone something. You have a pause play button in the top centre, as well as go forward and back a track. This does work on the Bluetooth. I tried it myself and it worked every single time. Then the next 6 buttons you have are the different inputs. So you have Bluetooth, RCA, 3.5mm jack, and the optical, as well as a couple more. At the bottom you have very important controls: bass up and down, treble up and down, and volume up and down controls. I use the bass and the treble controls on the remote to fine tune these speakers to the different locations in my rooms, and it does work really well. So therefore I think it's a very handy feature to have at the bottom of this remote. Again, as I mentioned, on the front of the speakers there is a light. This changes colour and blinks in accordance to what you're doing on the remote. So for example, in Bluetooth mode it is blue. If you decide to click up the bass and the treble, if you decide to adjust the volume, to change track, to pause, the light will flash in different ways to tell you that it's received said input. I've read reports of some people saying that this remote feels too small and too cheap, but really in my opinion I think a remote just needs to be simplistic and get the job done. This remote does exactly that, so therefore I think it's absolutely fine. The remote just adds that extra functionality, which I think is really important. I personally found it really handy, and that's not to say that everyone will, but I think majority of users will, because it allows them just to adjust these speakers quickly without having to get up and fiddle around with any connections on the back. However, rest assured, if you do want manual input control, there is those on the back of the speakers. That's all there really is to cover in terms of features on the LN01As, but that goes to show how simplistic yet usable I said they were. So now that we've covered features, let's move on to what matters the most: the sound. On the LN01As, you'll find 2 drivers per unit. At the top, a 25mm silk dome tweeter to allow you to get those crisp, sharp, high frequencies, and lower down a 13.5cm single piece smooth cone mid woofer. This covers both the mid-range frequencies and the lower frequencies, allowing you to get that full range of sound and not compromise on the lower end. In terms of power, those drivers are driven by a Class D digital amplifier, allowing you to get the high quality sound but also the efficiency. This is a 100 watt amplifier with 250 watt channels. The treble has a nice consistency to it. It doesn't seem to get too intense on your ears, which I find that some sharp treble weighted bookshelf speakers can seem to have. However, of course, as I showed you on the remote, there is a treble adjustment button, so if it does become too sharp, you can just turn this down. And alternatively, if it doesn't feel crisp enough, simply turn it up. The bass drivers on these speakers are ported, therefore their mid-bass frequency response is very, very solid. Their lower bass frequency response isn't quite as tight and concealed as a sealed box, however it's still definitely there, which is really important to see. Now let's jump into an all-important sound test to give you a little bit of an experience of what these speakers sound like and to allow you to see what you think. But before you listen, make sure if you're not already wearing headphones that you put some on to get the best listening experience.
Don't pack those bags too full, my friend. Make sure you're traveling light. I'm taking over my love with you.
So after taking a listen to multiple different genres of songs on those speakers, I was very impressed. I think that the LN01As will please many bookshelf speaker fans, both new users and already avid classical users. But of course, if you do want to find out more about how these speakers sound, you can go and book an appointment at Premium Sound and take a listen at these speakers to see what you think in person. Over the week that I first tested them, I really enjoyed the sound quality of them. I like that crisp, sharp treble, but I like the fact that they're not leaving out the all-important low and mid frequencies. And considering that these are powered bookshelf speakers, I think that if you're wanting to buy your first pair and get started in the world of bookshelf speakers, these are a very, very impressive starting point. That's it for this review. I hope this has helped you to find out more about the LN01As and answer any potential questions you may have had. If not, please feel free to leave any further questions in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you can see when I upload these hi-fi reviews, and give this video a like if you enjoyed watching it. It helps massively. That leaves me with nothing else to say other than thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.